Hello and welcome to Mind Your Matters. Today we're going to be talking about all things cast iron. I love my cast iron. I'll tell you about some tips and tricks that I use as I care and cook with my cast iron. I also have a couple recipes that I really do enjoy, so I hope that you can stay with me if that's something you're interested in. Let's check it out. This video is a collaboration with my friend Ingrid over at the Ingrid Chronicles. Ingrid, thank you for putting this together. And I know that there's going to be some awesome things that you can learn from this playlist. So make sure that you go through everybody, and I will link it below so that you can learn tips and tricks from everybody and recipes from everyone if you're using your cast iron. And I want to show you the items that I have and what I use and love. And we're going to go through a whole bunch of fun things about our cast iron. Today is actually a very busy day. I am creating some homemade coffee syrups for a friend of mine who is going to have a coffee bar at her wedding, and they're just dear friends of ours, so I've been doing that. So if you see any mess, this is a workable kitchen. This is what we have. I want to share with you a couple things I'm making for dinner. We have some friends coming for dinner, and I have some sourdough bread that I have been prepping since last night, and it's been great. I cannot wait to be able to cook these up. So one of the cast iron items that I use other than my cast iron frying pan, which is not just a pan, and we'll talk about that in a second, is my cast iron enamel Dutch oven. A 5-quart enameled cast iron Dutch oven. And this is pretty seasoned. I got it just recently. My other one, I used to the max and the enamel had cracked, so it was time for a new one. So this one's a little bit small, but it works for what I use it for, mostly baking bread, and then you can put it on the stovetop with soups. You can do roasts in the oven. There's so many things that you can do with your Dutch oven, which is cast iron. So I'm going to be taking this and I'm going to be putting my prepped sourdough bread inside. My oven is being heated up to 425, 450. Some people do different temperatures. So I'm going to make sure that this goes in the oven and starts to heat up, because that's going to help. It should already be in there, but I wanted to show you all about this before it went in. I'm going to take out my cast iron because a lot of the time when I am preheating my oven for anything, I put my cast iron in there, try to get it hot so I can add a layer of seasoning. So it's in there right now. The temperature is not too high, but the cast iron is hot, so I'm going to take that out. Here she is. She's pretty hot. I can feel it radiating. I'm obviously not going to touch it. I know that it's hot, but I'm going to add another layer of my coconut oil to the pan to season it. I usually like to use a coconut oil that is organic. That really helps. But I have this one here, so I'm going to rub some on this hot cast iron. And that is another tip. When you are seasoning to your cast iron, make sure that it is hot, because it's going to accept the oil, and that is going to build the seasoning instead of just puddling with oil. So that's what we're gonna do. I just use a basic paper towel. Be very careful. Sometimes I use an oven glove or an UV glove, whatever you have. Even up on the lip, even up on the handle. Get a nice even coating. I'm gonna put this back in only for a couple minutes, and then I'm gonna take it out and let it cool down. But I'm gonna put it back into my preheating oven so that it can really set. I'm gonna make sure that it is face down, and that will help all of the seasoning or all the oil to coat evenly and not puddle. So now that I have used my coconut oil, I'm gonna put it away. And that's pretty much what I use. I know other people use different oils, or they just make sure that the oils that they're using will prep their pan. Now for my dough, I have these great pans. Well, this is Rattan, I think it's called. It's just like a wooden basket. And I got these off Amazon. I also got the cutter and scrapers and all of the things. It has a little cover that's fitted to it. I'll try to link that below just in case you're looking for a really decent kit while you're doing your sourdough or bread baking. So in here, you can see I got this, and it's got some nice lines on it. I have another, because my recipe, it allots for 2 loaves. So you cut it in half in the morning, and then you go ahead and do your envelope full and and flop for every 30 minutes up to an hour, whatever. It helps build that dough, build the gluten, and kind of get it held together. So here's my other one. Just gonna peek on the bottom. Look at those pretty lines that the basket gave it. Not necessary, but you know, it's kind of pretty. I'm gonna be cooking this into a loaf, and I have a loaf pan I'm gonna be using, and then this one is going to be more of an artisan. This is going into my enamel cast iron pan, and this is gonna be going into a regular basket that I'll show you in a minute. So here's a little bit of our bread making with our cast iron. The maiden voyage of this pan, I've been wanting to get one of these for a long time. It's a square pan, a steel loaf pan with a lid, and this is also from Amazon. All right, so we're gonna put this back in the oven. This time I'm gonna take my cast iron skillet out. Also gonna set a timer for my Dutch oven bread so that I don't forget about it, because that would be so sad. Also gonna put this bread in, and that is also gonna cook along with the other bread. Okay, so we have covered quite a bit. So taking a look here at my cast iron, I am still working on my seasoning. I do have some issues with it, but seasoning is always renewable. It's not something that you have to give up on, oh, it's so far gone. Cast iron is always renewable. It has season maintenance. Here, you can heat it up on the stove top, in the stove and in the grill. You can do that periodically. I've been doing it in my stove for a long time. But it's always something that's going to build and darken over time. So it's gonna come and go, that seasoning, but you can always renew it. Now, you do not want your cast iron to get too hot, and you do not want to have too much oil. So it's too much is a bad thing with cast iron. If it's too hot, you're gonna lose your seasoning. It's gonna just sear off, and you're gonna burn your pan. You're gonna have problems with some issues in your seasoning. You don't want that. You want to have it not too hot and also not too much oil. So it's just a balance of learning what to do and when. Another thing with your cast iron is you want to be careful when you heat it up to go ahead and use it. You want to have a 5-minute heat up time. This is just like the same with, I feel, the same with your stainless steel. So you put it on your pan, medium to low, medium heat. I wouldn't go far above 5 or 6 on a stove like this. And put it on, and even set a timer for 5 minutes. Put it on, let it preheat before you're gonna use it, and it is going to have an even temperature. Now, I'm not gonna touch the one that I have here because it was just in the oven, but a good check that you can do when it is on your stove to know if the cast iron has accepted the heat is to give a little pinch test on the lip. Give it a little pinch test, obviously be very careful, but if the heat has risen up that lip, then it is ready to go. It is ready to use. So the heat has accepted into the pan. You're going to save lots of money also with cast iron. Your cast iron is gonna last a long time. I have so many pans that have come and gone that have been very pricey, but cast iron is going to stay around for generations if you take care of it and you treat it nicely. And if it has been abused, there are ways to fix that. So cast iron is going to save you money. It's going to save you time, electricity, all of that stuff. You can go ahead and turn off your heating element way before you can with other types of pans or sheets or whatever you're using to cook, pots and so on, because it's going to retain that heat and hold on to it. It's also very good for your health to absorb iron through your pan. So this cast iron pan, if I go ahead and bake in it, that's gonna be the best way to accept into the food and into my body that iron, to absorb that great mineral. So baking is the best. The other day, I went ahead and I made some sourdough cinnamon rolls, and I actually brought some to a friend too, and they were so great. But I tell you, the best way that it cooked up was in my cast iron. I used other pans just because I was on the go, but boy, it made a big difference cooking it in my cast iron. My kids enjoyed it. It felt good. It was crispy, even, and wonderful, and it was baked in my oven. So your cast iron pan here, this frying pan, is not just a frying pan. You can bake with it, you can roast in it in the oven, you can put it over an open fire, and you can also go ahead and use it on your stovetop. So anyways, it's a great pan, and you don't want to miss out on all the health benefits, all of the financial benefits. You're using less electricity, and you're going ahead and you're cooking your food evenly, lasting longer. So those are really important things when you're using your cast iron. Think about it as an investment, something that you want to keep on, and you want to learn this skill because it will help you. So I have talked before on my channel about washing my cast iron. You can use a mild soap. I know a lot of people say not to. I rarely have to because I take care of it right away. But to wash your pan, it's important to clean and care for it. A little bit of mild soap is okay. It's not the old soap of times gone by with bacon fat and all of the other harsh things that went into it. You can clean it up real well. I used to use salt, and I would go ahead and I would get the salt in there and I would let it scrape off what was there. But I've recently found an amazing device that I use so many places. So here's my ChainMail Scrubber, and I love this thing. I went even went as far this past Christmas to buy these for all my friends, and I even sent it to a YouTube friend because it is amazing. You can find these many places. This one is from a mama that I love to support. I'll try to link her stuff below, but she has an Etsy shop, and she makes these and sells these from her Etsy shop, and I really enjoy supporting her. It's an American company. It's also a mom. So, hey, I love that so much. She sent me this one for free, and I've been loving it, but I have also, I have shared it with so many of my friends, so I'm happy to help her. This video is not sponsored by her, but I love to just share what I enjoy. So I take this scrubber and I will scrub out the gunk of my cast iron with hot water, or if I need some abrasive, I need some baking soda, I need some white vinegar, which doesn't happen too often, I can do that. Or I can go ahead and use some mild soap with this and get that clean. Usually hot water is just fine to just scrubby and get the crud out of that pan, and it definitely cleans up really well. Now another thing with your cast iron is you want to dry it properly. Dry it properly, because if you know anything about metal, iron and water is not going to mix very well. You can dry it in your oven. If something has already been cooking, you can put it in your oven and it will just dry up. Dry it with a paper towel, and even after that, go the extra mile and dry it off on your heating element on your stove. Let that water evaporate, and also after that, it's hot. Check that lip with the finger test, really carefully. Check it, make sure it's hot enough, season it. I always put it back in my oven if my oven's not super hot, maybe it's just warm, and I flip it upside down, and I pretty much store my cast iron in my oven. It happens. And I preheat my oven and I find it, and it's already baking in that seasoning. So your cast iron will get some love even if it seems like it's forgotten in the oven. Anyway, so make sure you dry it properly, clean it properly, season it properly, and cook with it properly. If you have a brand new cast iron, it's probably not best to go ahead and cook some acidic things. Your sauces, your wine sauces, your tomato sauces, even bacon can have a little bit of a harsh start with a new cast iron, or a cast iron that has not built up its seasoning yet. Maybe you're working on getting that seasoning back. So there's a whole bunch of things to consider, but there's a lot of wonderful things you can do with your cast iron that will help your seasoning if it's new, or you're just renewing it, or what have you. It's a new pan, whatever. Go ahead and roast and saute vegetables. That is a wonderful way to start to keep that seasoning going in your cast iron. So go ahead and do that. Roast things in the oven, something that maybe like a meat or what have you, that will really help your seasoning and solidify it and soak it into the pan, and it will accept that seasoning. So anyway, those are a couple of the things off the top of my head that I've been sharing here with you as I've been waiting for my oven to cook my sourdough bread. And I also got my frying pan here on my stove. I would love to get more cast iron. I'm super excited. If there's some cast iron that you really enjoy, let me know in the comments below. I'm looking to add to my stock of cast iron. I really want to get a skillet. And yes, I have a glass top, and a lot of people say if you have a glass top, do not use cast iron on it. I have never had trouble. Never. And if something happens to my stove, you know, randomly because of that, it's probably from something else, not from my cast iron. So I'm really enjoying it. But please let me know in the comments below if there's something that you love. Is there a certain size? This is a 12-inch. A lot of people have different sizes. A lot of people have different sizes that they enjoy, and this is the one that I enjoy. I can put a lot in there. I can make biscuits in here, a whole bunch of stuff. I have some videos that I have done with my cast iron. I'm gonna put those in the description box. We have made buttermilk biscuit, 3-ingredient buttermilk biscuits, and also some steak. I've gone through that whole process with you. Tonight is actually steak night because we're having friends over. So I'm gonna be using you got it, my wonderful Black Beauty, my pan. I'm gonna be making steaks in that. So it's gonna be super amazing. It's gonna be wonderful. So we're going to enjoy that meal. So check out the biscuit video, check out the steak video, and you saw the cinnamon roll, and I'll add that link below where the recipe is found. You can make it sourdough or not sourdough, but the sourdough was absolutely spot on. Very, very delicious. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Ingrid, for putting this cast iron together. I hope that you were able to glean some information in my chatty cast iron time. I really enjoy my cast iron, and I believe that I have gleaned over the years some tips and tricks that might be helpful to you, especially if you're just starting, or if you really have, you know, already done cast iron for quite some time and you need to add to your knowledge. The ChainMail, I will link below. You can get these from Amazon, but again, I felt really good buying it from the mama there in her Etsy shop. So thank you so much. I hope that you have a lovely day. If you enjoyed your stay here, we do all sorts of content, mommy life, living clean and simple, and also just running our home and loving our family, loving Jesus, all the fun things. So you can subscribe, like, share, all the things, and also enjoy the playlist hereafter. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with me, and we'll catch you later. Bye. So I was not even joking when I said that I'm coffee catering a wedding. Maple vanilla, almond, caramel, mocha, Reese's mocha, peanut butter, liquid sugar. This has been fun, and I was also test driving my brand new high volume percolator, so I cannot wait. But thank you so much for dealing with the messy kitchen. I quite enjoyed it. Have a lovely day. Bye.